Hello, everyone. What's going on? This is Leon back with episode 4. Today, we're going to be talking here on Lights, Camera, Scream, Pet Cemetery. Oh my god. I just got into Pet Cemetery 2019 version. Oh my god. I haven't felt much of a very disappointing experience of my life. And now we're going to get into it in today's episode of the Pet Cemetery here on episode 4 of Lights, Camera, Scream. And man, I don't know even know where to start on this because there's so much I can go through and say and just pinpoint just the issues with this film. And thing is, I never heard about this at all, and I was actually I would say late in the game until I discovered through Tubi.tv. Now, if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to Tubi or what the heck Tubi is, well, you get to watch a lot of free movies and TV shows right there, and you can watch it on any smart television or just watch it through your desktop, which is a great app right there, which I recommend if you don't plan on paying on rentals or plan on not going to the theaters, which I definitely recommend too, which is a cost savings. And plus, I've been watching a couple episodes of season 1 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer on there too, which some point later I'll talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a television show. While it doesn't, well, I would say technically it's still a horror, has a horror theme to it with fantasy theme. I'll definitely get into Buffy and give you guys my own take and my own experience on the show. This time, however, give you guys my brief review on Pet Sematary 2019 version, right? And what I can tell you my overall experience on this film. Now, I will say that this film, I was like, oh, Pet Sematary 2019. How did I miss this film? And looking over, I would go over and say that this film, I can't say that as a remake, just like more modern remakes nowadays, especially when it comes to action films, adventures, and then you see it from many genres. Well, between remakes and reboots now, I wasn't really hyped, right? And I found this in its selection of movies to watch on Tubi. So I wanted to do something like this because I've got done watching it over an hour ago, and let me tell you, it's not the most horrible film I've ever watched, but I'll tell you, it's not it's not great at all. I'll put it this way, because I look over on a film like this, and you expect this to say, okay, maybe it'll be pretty good, because I know the It film, if I'm not mistaken, like Stephen King's It. Let me look it over. Like, first of all, there's two versions of It. You got the 2017's It, the clown played by Bill Skarsgård, and then which I've heard so much good things about it. Now that one had a very high review, 7.3 on IMDb, and then the other one, the clown played by Tim Curry. I will tell you one thing though, as someone that did grew up with it, I just gonna be me. Maybe it's just my own bias, but the way I put it, this is that for me, I was a guy that's always been into the Tim Curry's version. So for me, I would go and pick Tim Curry's version over the modern one. However, I will give the modern one a chance and see where I stand with that too. Now, in this episode, I will say on my experience with Pet Cemetery, going back there, I have to say with any adaptation with from books to movies, it's going to differ. And in this remake right there, I felt so disappointed in my life. And while I see what they were trying to do and change the formula of it, and those of you that are saying, have I finished the book or have I read the book? No, I have not. But I do remember the movie Pet Cemetery quite a bit, and I do have to rewatch the 1989 version of Pet Cemetery, and that's for me. On me, however, I would love to get into reading a lot more titles, which I will tell you guys that that would be great to see myself getting back into, more novelization and more reading. Actually, in fact, I will have to rent that over on Libby, on the Libby app, right through my phone. Which for me, I'm not missing out on. By the way, the adaptation from Pet Cemetery 1983, which for those of you that want to find out about your own experience on it, I would say pick up the book. I'm sure the book is still great. Now let's get on to the film. The film, however, starts with a family that moves into a town which was called Lidlow, and that and in that, right, there has a family of four, a husband, wife, and two children, and along with a cat. So that's where we are at with this film, and the plot of the film is that the whole family moves into this town, and he's moving over because of a new job that he's working over at a local university there. So that's the plot of the story, and when it comes down to it too. Now, let's get right onto one of the things I do not like, especially too. So I think coming right off of there too, the way they've took this a modern turn, which the modern turn of this film, I mean, you expect this, of course, 2019 version, probably end up using a lot more, the practical effects, what you would think they would do with the 1989 version of the film, but no, and I would say it's just I just didn't like the special effects on it. You can tell right away, like how they've done it, how they've executed the film, which, and to me, it's no surprise, and I just didn't like the display, how they've gone about it, right? And that's one of the things on this film that I didn't care for, especially when he goes on the first day of the job, the husband, gosh, what's the character of the husband? Anyways, that probably can come back to me. Lewis, there we go. That's the main character. So, and what happens is that during the first day of the job, they have to carry this patient that got run over by a truck, and so you see the experience with this guy, and then the nurses carrying this black guy right to the hospital bed, and they're trying to treat him too. And then what do you know is he's not conscious for long, and so he passes away right there. So that's quite traumatic there. Right through the beginning of the film. So where it goes. So, anyways, that's how it is. But anyway, if for those of you that have not watched it, I will say that you have been warned. So I will continue on this forward on this episode, and so yeah, like I've said, I will not hold back on anything because I am doing a full review on this. So continue on after his experience with his workday. He gets haunted by this spirit, giving him this warning. And one of the things I didn't like about the film, I mean, part of it was, it's like you wanted to hear the film, the guy that passed away, for some reason. I don't know what it is. You didn't get to hear his dialogue pretty well, and I don't know why, but I just felt that when Dave created the film alone, where in the spirit you felt that, I don't know, like he didn't have like a well, which he was just a spirit. I mean, he didn't have to have a major role in this film, but I just felt that the person that played that spirit, it just, like, for me, it just didn't felt very clear. Um, you almost wanted to know, like, what is going on. Like, I mean, there was a few times in the film that he does appear, yeah, just a few times in the film, but then that deceased black guy, he's not like there for too long in many of the rest of the film. So, anyways, so Lewis goes back into the home, to the home, and he rests up from his horrific time during his day. However, it's quite awful. So, and now you go forward with the film and moving forward. And one thing I wanted to point out with Pet Cemetery, and especially what I can recall from watching this, is that so basically he's in the middle of the dream, and he falls asleep, right? And I will say that they did take a lot of the elements from the original Pet Cemetery, and that's when I've noticed right there, is that, there were things that they did, do good right there too. I would say the latter part of the film, however, just threw me off, because they've switched the depth of the characters, which I never understood why they've done it to begin with. Because if you guys have not watched the '89 version of Pet Sematary, you know that the boy, I remember the boy is evil. He pretty much turns, so that's what I've remembered. And however, I'll have to do a summary on that film another time, the 1989 version. So back to the 2019 version, where this guy is dreaming, and that's one thing I've noticed with this part of the film, is that he goes to this grave site, like basically this grave site where all the pets are being buried, and then the other side of the pet cemetery, you actually see the Indian burial, which I was like, wow, it's quite chilling. But I will say, in the older movie's defense, I think the older film did it much better, and they did it much more chilling in that sense. While I know this, that even with today's visualization, even though they've done a great job presenting itself, especially with modern technology, and with more of the effects, which I think at most studios nowadays, they're going to switch over to from practical effects to CGI, which that's pretty normal, right? And that's why I'm like not really so not so thrilled with this film at all, because you felt that you want this film to be, jumping right out of your seat, and it did for me a few times, and honestly, and it did. But then you start to realize, okay, there's a common occurrence, is like, okay, I know where this film is going, I don't like it at all, and what do you know? The suspense, it doesn't hit you as hard. And I remember the older film, it did a better job, and that's why I've always felt that the 2019 version was something I kind of felt it wasn't like the edge of my seat. And however, I will say that in appreciation, at least you get to see a lot of these new actors playing, playing these actors the husband, the wife, and the children, which I don't know any of these actors whatsoever, and to me, the most of them are very much unknown. So it's cool that you see a lot of these refreshing faces compared to other films that you get to see a lot of these old faces all the time. And I did, however, like that they got the fresh new faces right into this movie, which is good. But then at the same time, you look over is like, is the acting bad? Well, not at all, personally. But the acting on the film and Pet Cemetery, the original one, wasn't as great either. I will say that right there too, because if I remember correctly, that's how it was. And now, in giving the focus on the take of the film was that so throughout the movie, the cat. However, I don't. However, one thing I haven't even mentioned much about this podcast is that the cat, the pet of the movie, and boy, they made it pretty chilling in this one. It wasn't bad at all, but I am gonna have to argue that the 90 the 89 version was better as far as how it goes with older cliches and older horror films, what they did back then. And now this one, however, it was quite chilling too. Was the cat in this film was a pretty cute cat too. Of course, you see the moments in the film where the cat passes away, gets hit by a truck, and so yeah, it was one of those things that you've noticed right there. That hey, the cat's passed away, and the husband, Lewis, doesn't tell the children nor the wife about that. So, but he ends up telling the wife until after he gets done with the burial. So that was one thing that's, I would say, it's quite messed up with this film alone too. Is he goes out with Jude, the neighbor, and he knows about this whole Indian burial thing. And what makes the scenes very much asinine, which the guy, he knew about this issue whatsoever. I mean, when he talks about the story about how he buried Spot, his dog, that's what I look back in this film is like, you're telling me that you're going to help your neighbor Lou and bury the damn cat in the Indian burial. It's this weird it's this weird scenario about why would you bury your own pet in Indian burial, which I don't know what it is, but these people, oh my gosh. And that's what makes me wonder, is like, okay, here we go, this is just the whole cliche. And so what do you know is that once they've got done burying the cat, and all, and then once they got done just digging in the dirt, putting the cat there, and then after they've the husband rests after his attempt to put him in the burial, right? And so one of the things that I kind of hated in this film, like, while in the old film he gets pretty much hinted about what I want you Jude, the neighbor, tells Lewis, hey, I want you to know that whatever you do not say a word what we did tonight. And it's like, okay. And in this film right here, he doesn't say anything at all until later on, which I'm thinking, okay, this movie gets pretty worse from there as well. And that's why I'm thinking, yeah, this film does not align well with the classics, and I'm starting to hate where things are going. And then the next morning, the husband, the wife gets up, and basically the father tells this bullshit story to the daughter. Say, hey, I want to let you know that what happened to your cat to your cat a church. Well, he must have been missing. So the oh wait, then what happened was that when the daughter got up in bed, the daughter anyways, I can't even. Oh, Ellie, there we go, Ellie, the daughter, and she's like, no, the cat's not missing. I've seen Church this morning, and he's here, and he's hiding somewhere, and so wait, and then the father goes over and finds the cat in the closet of the girls' room, and that's where you notice like, oh shoot, I know where this is going. However, the undead look on this, I would say it's not bad. However, I prefer the older the cat from the original film. It not too bad. I like the whole bloody take on the fur, the way they've done it wasn't like, it wasn't like fabulous. However, I mean the effects on the makeup effects on it wasn't like the best thing, but it's like okay. I honestly prefer the original film, and somehow this this was the point when I saw the cat. I was like, look, the cat wasn't bad at all. I mean, he looked really terrifying too, but holy cow, I just felt, man, it didn't felt like a cat that scared you. But and that's one thing I felt so disappointed where the mood on this film wasn't like something that takes you off your seat and just gives you a bunch of chills, right? And that's where I felt so cheated out of this film. Thankfully, I did see this when this film was free, so I didn't feel all too bad. If I paid or rented out to watch this, maybe I kind of feel the heat or the burn on this, but I like I said, I'm not feeling all too bad since this movie was free to watch. This one here, I was like, damn, where this film was going, and then one of the parts of this film where and continuing forward with this is that, and the father is just like, what is going on? This cat was supposed to be dead, not being brought alive. So, and that was one of the things was like very odd to him. And one of the things I can put into this film is like, okay, while I would say that the movie wasn't all about the cat itself, it didn't give you a whole bunch of questions about, hey, like where I've what I'm not supposed to do, what should and should not supposed to do, and you felt that's why they have changed the script in this film to a point that instead of the son, like the son in this film, the son he doesn't die, and he doesn't get hit in the truck, and that's one thing I remembered in the original film, where in this newer remake, they switched it over. Instead of the baby son, the son, however, then the daughter gets hit in the by the truck. It's like, what is up with that? Too, I'm just baffled with the changes, because even though I don't remember the original all that much, but I can still clearly remember the part where the son gets hit, and that's what kind of felt. I I was like, what is going on? And it's just like I felt that they've changed the I don't know, just elements of the film that I just figured they should never have changed it at all, personally. And that's where I kind of felt that, as a watcher and as a viewer, you feel so cheated out. And because of the differences and the remake, the style of this film, I don't know, there's things that just felt quite off, quite honestly, too. And as a viewer, you notice that there are things that they've changed. There's been things that have changed around since on this remake. Now, and that's why, even though this is not a film that I can say that this is like the worst remake adaptation to this. It wasn't the best, really, because honestly, they uh, they were trying to cater to like the whole modern audiences. And however, for me, as someone that grew up with the film, the 1989 film, this right there didn't like touch me, or didn't like, didn't have the same chill factor like the original. I just felt that there were things in the 2019 film that felt predictable, and where, especially when it comes to 2019, like the older film uses a landline phone, while this one uses the more of the uh, mobile phones, where you've had the husband ignoring the phone call from the wife, and that's why I kind of felt that this movie just felt out of place, and that's why, even in for me, however, in today's world, with the whole reaching out and catering to the whole modern audiences type, I just didn't felt that this wasn't catering to me, and I never asked for a remake for the Pet Cemetery. Like, I felt that sure, the film back then had its flaws, but I just didn't felt that it wasn't really needed to have a remake, and that was one thing. Like, this film just delivered failed to deliver the suspense, and that's why when it comes to filmmaking these days, like, I get it, it's hard to execute a good horror film. However, like, it's like, how could you screw up an adaptation from Stephen King? And the best part about the old film, right there, was that Stephen King was featured as the priest in the old film. Like, how could you screw up at all? I mean, it's beyond me, but they've done stuff in this film, like, it's not, it doesn't reaches out to you as a viewer, and I'm sure that many of you that go out and plan on watching this film, that it may not be something that will gravitate you, but that this is something that will leave you off, probably within the hour, right? And you probably may not end up reaching the ending, because the ending just felt so out of place and so different that it makes you not want to watch the whole movie again. And for someone that have watched the whole film, I would say, as someone that can say and go over, that I've gone over this film once, I'm only going to watch this one time, and one time alone. And for me, it's a solid, I can't say it's a solid movie. It's just a plain 5 out of 10 in my personal rating scale, from 1 to 5, and what I think about this film. And it hurts me, because there's nothing in this supernatural adaptation from King's novel just felt bad. And now I come to think about it too, after I'm done talking and raving, I will look into renting out the book Pet Cemetery, because I know I love reading in my off time, and Pet Cemetery, it will be one I want to get into too, per se too. And I will say the ending. Oh, spoiler alert! Guess what happens? Everyone turns into zombies, pretty much supernatural, freaking zombies. So yeah, they basically turn evil. That's pretty much the spoiler to this film, and it's not a great take of the end. There's no happy ending, nothing like that. Like, at this point, the boy that gets locked in the car, pretty much it gets picked up by the dad, and how that's gonna end up, right? So at this point, the Ellie turns, the wife turns, and then the husband ends up turning into a supernatural, malicious evil. So yeah, the ending was not great. So putting it bluntly there. So at this point, if you want to rent that out, I suggest renting it out and probably pay for nothing at this point. So anyways, that is my take of the Pet Cemetery 2019. So at this point in time, and my recommendation, anyone that's listening to, I would say the best version, of course, 1989 version of the Pet Cemetery, 2019 version. If you want to watch it at your own discretion. So just a warning in advance. So that's all I'm gonna have to say right there. And guys, I have to say is to put an ending on this podcast is for those that have listened to the last 3 episodes. Thank you so much for taking time to listen. As I am starting up this podcast and as I'm slowly growing, please be sure to hit the follow button on Apple or subscribe to your favorite podcast platforms of your choice. This is Leon LeGray signing out. Have a good holiday as I am recording this on July 4th.